We are now live on Facebook. Today we will be talking about cyberbullying, which is on the rise thanks to our excessive online presence. Um, we Just to talk about what discussion is going to be all about today. Let me just give you a small background on what we are going to be talking about. Just a second, please. So we live in a virtual world today for most of our waking hours. This is a new reality where we even brush our teeth only after having looked at our phones. And people of all ages are online today without prior or formal training or precedent whatsoever in how to engage in open public space on topics never discussed before. We are interacting with many people that we do not personally know. Many of us do not have the ability to entertain or ignore a contradicting point of view or rejection, to discuss it politely, to consider it without getting personal or abusive, and we resort to cyberbullying without even being aware of it. Some conversations are simply tangential and mind bogglingly rude, nasty, obscene, and threatening. It also affects the mind and the life of the victim, while this is definitely a mental health issue for the perpetrator also. While in real time we deal with individuals, often online there are a larger number of people viewing and reacting to our posts. People have learned that there can be many different people online and think they are invisible, but they forget that they will always leave a trail. So today let us look at cyberbullying from the legal point of view. We have with us Advocate Rajas Pingle, an international cyber law expert and cyber crime lawyer. We also have with us Assistant Police Inspector Sagar Panmand from the Cyber Cell of the Crime Branch of Pune Police. Thank you both so much for joining us today. Um, I hope this will be an enlightening conversation for everybody who has joined us. This will be also put up on YouTube so people can watch it after the conversation is over. So I would want to jump right into the conversation and get going with the questions if that is okay with both of you.
Yeah,
Yes. So the first question that I have here is, how has the current scenario given rise to an increased number of incidents of cyberbullying among colleagues, school and college classmates, etc.? How do you think it looks right now? And how has the current scenario, the COVID close down, the COVID lockdown, and the fact that everybody is online suddenly, how has it affected the cybercrime scene?
okay.
Advocate Rajas, if you could go first.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for the invitation. And I think this is the most, not this topic isn't discussed that widely across the internet and openly as well. So I really thank you for taking this topic. And yes, as far as your question is concerned, there is a sudden jump in cybercrime because obviously many people are working from home because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and that has eventually uh, led to increase in every cybercrime, not just cyberbullying, but uh, across. I mean, it, many people have been affected by phishing attacks also, and so forth. But yes, I mean, when we talk about cyberbullying, it doesn't only affect with the students. It has been happening in organizations as well, that suddenly some colleague or one of your friend takes up something which is embarrassing for you and post it post it online, or post it somewhere on WhatsApp or any other social media platform, and suddenly that because of such actions, uh, people have taken drastic steps towards ending their lives also. So it's really unfortunate, and we need to talk about this more. But there is an enormous increase in cyberbullying incidences, and I think Mr. Panman also would agree with me that they have received uh, many complaints regarding the same, that people have been posting some nasty stuff online without realizing the consequences, or without thinking anything through. And one of the major reasons why people are behaving in such a manner, I really think that the main reason behind it is, right now there aren't a specific provisions under the law which cover cyberbullying as such. Previously, when we talk about prior to 2015, there was a section 66A of Information Technology Act, to be very specific, which talked about, I mean, which covered sending offensive messages across the internet. But now, when our honorable Supreme Court struck off that section completely, and to replace that section with another provision of law, there isn't any right now. So there isn't been any amendment to that effect, and that's why people are, I think, more careless in posting anything online without any consequence. There are certain provisions under Indian Penal Code, but not as stringent as a Section 66A was. So I think that is one of the reasons why people are uh, posting like offensive comments, or offensive pictures, or offensive videos about someone else online.
सागर जी, वुड यू लाइक टू कमेंट कि आपके एक्सपीरियंस में क्या हुआ है, और आपके पास कैसे एक स्पाइक हुआ होगा अभी लॉकडाउन की वजह से, तो कैसे कॉल्स आ रहे हैं आपके पास, और क्या हो रहा है अभी फिलहाल?
There are multiple complaints that are being filed at cyber police station regarding somebody's character bashing, and calling them names, threatening them. And with those complaints, it has been observed that during the COVID-19 situation, people were working from home. If you look at the telecom figures, you will also notice that there is a rise in the use of internet, rise in the use of social media, on even on the OTT platforms.
Correct.
First of all, I would like to point out that whenever people are onto social media, whenever they are on cyberspace, there's a one bigger superstition among the people that they cannot be traced back. One thing, because if for an example, that we had received a complaint where a person has created an Facebook account under a false alias, under a false name, and then the person
We seem to have lost him.
starts. Can you hear me?
Yes, could you kindly repeat the last line? We lost you there.
Okay. The thing is, people need to understand that you are going to be traced, because social media, they are the law abiding people who provides each and every information available at their servers. Whatever they have been recorded, they provide it to the law enforcement agency. Secondly, the expression of people is being too much harmful for others. There are multiple ways where you can express yourself, but to express somebody, or to express somebody's feelings about any other things, for example, you can take an example of the TikTok was currently banned, but
Right.
before that, multiple people were on that platform creating their own videos, and they were posting on that platform. And on that platform, whenever you look at somebody's video which has been created, you will see there are a few comments which are good, and multiple comments which are the things which no one will be able to dare say in front of the people physically.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the barrier of being physical present, the advantage of being virtual, that they feel that the person who are they thrashing at, or who are they raging at, they will not be able to get back at them. So this is the kind of thing that people are expressing themselves. There must be anger, frustration, there are a lot of things happening around in the society, but that doesn't mean you can put it all together and you lash it out at some places. So the freedom of expression, Advocate Rajesh Pingla has correctly said that it was the section 66A of IT Act which was struck down by Honorable Supreme Court. But the reason behind that was it should not obstruct somebody for their freedom of expression or for their freedom of speech. The Supreme Court has correctly said that if anybody, or these sections can be used against other people, or these sections can be used or this section should not be used to threaten somebody or to jeopardize somebody's freedom of speech. That's why they had struck it down. But people are taking this too much lightly and they are saying things.
Right. So I have always said, I mean, I was brought up believing that every right has a corresponding responsibility also, which is something that I think we need to talk about more and more, because we talk about freedom of speech, but there is also some responsibility connected to it. With great freedom also comes great responsibility. Like with great power comes great responsibility. And internet is also a power, a tool that we have right now. And how to use it sensibly and responsibly is something that we need to be taught, because in India we have not had conversations on this scale about so many different subjects that we are now discussing openly, right? So we were a very when it came to discussions, we were a very formal kind of a country where we didn't discuss many subjects. Many subjects are considered taboo, and suddenly a person who comes from that kind of a background comes on online, and he finds that people are discussing these things freely, and he thinks now he has a space to express himself, but he doesn't know how, right? So even when it comes to the way girls dress, there is a lot of, I mean, I don't like using these words, but there is slut shaming going on, there is body shaming going on, there are
Moral policing.
absolutely, and there is nobody there to stop them at all. Even if I say something that you do not agree with, this is
Mhm.
something that I just told Advocate Rajas, Advocate Pingle before we began. I want to ask both of you, as a lawyer and as a cop, right? Both of you are constantly, it's your job to disagree with people and to put people on the spot, because if you're in court, you're disagreeing with the guy who's arguing the case against you, right? How do you manage to maintain your rapport with that person? How do you manage not to offend that person? How do you manage to set the context and know that you're talking about a subject, you're not talking about a person? So if I disagree with you even now on this platform, if I say I don't agree with you, Advocate Pingle, it's not personal, it's about a subject. And other than that,
Absolutely.
we have a rapport going, and we maintain that respect for each other in the way we speak and the way we communicate. And you as a policeman, Sagarji, you also must be, talking to a lot of people who've been accused of many things, but it's not personal. It's about that particular case and in a particular context. You could even be friends with that person otherwise. So how do we teach this generation, which is online and is having these discussions online where there are disagreements happening? Disagreements are leading to abuse because they don't know how to actually debate. It's never a debate. It's always about, didn't somebody else do this and you are this, so that the other person stops. You want the argument to stop, not to turn into a discussion. So how do you manage to strike that balance, Advocate Pingle, in a court of law while
Yes.
maintaining respect for your so-called opponent?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to talk important point that when we talk about freedom and freedom of expression, which is our constitutional right as an Indian citizen, it's not an absolute right. There can be reasonable restrictions put by law. So one needs to understand that while expressing themselves, even the internet. When I mean, Sagarji has correctly pointed out, if I meet someone physically or in person, I would obviously think 10 times before speaking something negative or speaking something uh, offensive to that person directly. But when it comes to online, people are not thinking, and they are absolutely taking advantage of the fact that uh, uh, away from that person. So one needs to understand that although it's a constitutional right to express ourselves, it's not an absolute right. There has to be certain amount of restrictions which can be put by the government or the legislator. And I think desperately, I definitely think that we need a law in place or a provision in place which specifically talks about cyberbullying in general. Now coming back to your question, I mean, being a lawyer, obviously, I understand that I have to disagree with the other lawyer or the other profession which I'm arguing in the court of law. But that is part and parcel of my profession. I mean, if a lawyer would definitely agree with me when we are arguing in the court. That's obviously part of our profession. When we are outside the court, it's like friends. Uh, I think 99% of the time we don't take it personally when we are arguing about the case. So it it depends the profession, it depends on the lawyer, other lawyer as well. But as far as my experience is concerned, I haven't had any feud or any offensive talks with or offensive or a very heated argument with someone outside the court when we talk about absolutely it depends on the other person also. But as far as experience goes, I would definitely say that professionally I discussions or agreements of such outside the courts. It's part and parcel. I think you're on mute.
Sagarji, what would you like to say about this?
Okay, I'm quoting two lines. I don't exactly know who had said those. First is charity begins at home, and second one is let's agree to disagree. The
Correct.
first line I'm quoting is because charity begins at home. That means multiple things that we are concerning about, the multiple things that we expect people to do, that should be taught from the home. So now these days, what things that has been observed as when I was a kid, or when I came from a middle class family, I got my smartphone when I started working my job. These days, people are giving smartphone which are much more costlier with internet facilities to their kids. So first talk that you had correctly said that multiple things are being considered as taboo. So the rest of the thing, let's get back to our today's topic, that people, or the specifically the parents, need to sit down with their children. They need to have a talk with them that I am giving you this device. It has an internet connection. It will lead you to multiple. It will open thousands and millions door to the knowledge part, and it will also lead you to the porn sites. It will also lead you to some other things which are not correct, or which are not healthy for you, or which are not healthy for your age, or not for the society. So they need to understand these things, which is what to do and what not to do. So uh, parents has a responsibility to make their pupils understand what are the repercussions of their wrongdoings first. Secondly, there's a term that has been evolving currently, which is known as a digital parenting. So uh, the conventional parenting means, if I'm talking to my son or my daughter, I'm scolding them about something, that do your homework, do your study, I have asked you to clean up your room, and all those things. But currently, the digital parenting consists of whatever the actions, or whatever the internet browsers details that a person's child is using. They need to be a little bit more careful about that. They need to see it. That doesn't mean they had to spy on it continuously. What they need to do is to have a conversation with their children and tell them what exactly is the use of the internet, what is the most profitable use of internet they can do for their studies and for any other researches, or for any other projects. Use of social media, that can be understandable, but excessive use, they had to be stopped. Because we have received few complaints where kids of standard 7th and 8th, or 14 15 years children were involved in it, and one of the children had created a fake Facebook account of their teacher, on the pretext that their teacher is having an affair with their colleagues. So students will go at another level, or they can uh, get sidetracked from the tax if they are not guided well. Second, where I'm coming to the second point, where I quoted the line that let's agree to disagree. In my profession, we have to disagree, or we are disagreeing with people, uh, is the correct statement will be. But still, people are there are multiple people who are not listening to us, or this disagreement is far much more, and we have a lesser time. So at the point of authority, we have to tell them people, yes, you have to do this, and you must do this. So for this, I will give you an example. During the current COVID-19 situation, during the first few lockdowns, we were deployed at bandobast points, where we have to tell them people, no, you cannot get out of your homes. It is not possible for a police officer or police personnel to explain everything to explain everything to each and every person that he is meeting with. So at that point, we have to use our authority and ask them or order them to do what is actually expected them to do.
The COVID situation is such that children are forced to go online. I don't think it is a choice anymore, you know, because even kindergarten classes are happening online. I mean, forget about a 7-year old or an 8-year old. Of 3-year old and 4-year old, there are parents, there are mothers in my own society who are asking, oh, is there a drawing class? Is there a dance class for my child who's 3 years old online? Because the child is so bored sitting in the house. See, this is a very unnatural situation we are in right now. And there is a lot of frustration. We have to agree that mental health is not at its best right now in anybody's case, whether it is people who are doing the bullying or misbehaving, or the people that are being bullied, whether it is a perpetrator or the victim, if we can call them that. It's really a very different situation, something that we have never experienced. Also, Sagarji, we have to remember that many parents are not internet savvy. They don't even understand. I mean, there are many parents, many parents are in denial कि मेरा बच्चा ऐसा कुछ कर ही नहीं सकता. That is, of course, the worst thing. Second thing is they don't even know कि ये ऐसा हो सकता है. There are students who are, like we saw a case very recently, it was in the newspapers and all over the internet, how a teacher was actually ragged in a Zoom class because he was not familiar with Zoom at all. Because of 55, I'm 53, 55-year-olds, 60-year-olds don't, and with so many years of experience and so much respect that they have earned through their hard work, are not really familiar with the internet to that extent. बच्चों को सब आता है, हमें बच्चे सिखाते हैं कि oh, you know, this is how you go on to Zoom and this is how we have a classroom online, and they know so much more than we do. तो जो आप बोल रहे हो कि parents have to teach their kids, पहले parents को भी aware कराना जरूरी है कि ये सब भी हो सकता है. You know, the parents themselves are not aware. So I think we need to have a lot of such sessions where we may need to make people aware of what are the dangers. Of course, the policeman can't do it because you have a job to do, another job to do. But we actually need people who are internet savvy, who have seen these things happening, maybe from among youngsters like, students, etc., have to come forward and talk about these dangers once they have gone through this. So a couple of questions. Digital parenting is one second, let me just see. We have heard some complaints during live sessions regarding nasty comments from handful of viewers. Is there any legal recourse we can take to prevent these? So this we will come to legal recourse a little later, Shweta. Sujata Ban, who's the head of the department at SNDT Bombay, she heads the Department of Special Education there, because that's what Ekansh is all about. So she says in times of digital literacy now, we have to give smartphones at a very young age, which is what I said. All said and done, the influence of environment is great. Also, Sagarji, you will remember that all of us also, when we were teenagers, the last people we listened to were our parents. We were constantly telling them things like, "Sab kar rahe, main kyun nahi karu? देखो मेरे दोस्त के पास ये है, मेरे पास क्यों नहीं है?" So that continues. Only the extent sort of differs, and it has grown now. One more question, I will quickly just put it out. Digital parenting concept is great. Little ones maybe up to class 10. Parents can be with kids to teach about cyber security, manners, etc. What about youth who did not have digital experiences in childhood, but now the whole web world is at their disposal? How to teach them? And again, parents and teachers. देखिए, बार बार यही एक हमारे सर में भी, ये दिमाग में भी ये एक बात है कि सिर्फ बच्चे ये काम कर रहे हैं, जो सही नहीं है. काफी सारे अडल्ट्स हैं जो 30s 40s में हैं, 50s में भी हैं, जिनको इंटरनेट हैंडल करना नहीं आ रहा. जैसे अब अभी आप ले लीजिए, इफ इट्स एन एक्टर और एन एक्ट्रेस ऑन ट्विटर और एन इंस्टाग्राम, वी नो हाउ दे आर बीइंग ट्रोल्ड, एक्टर्स एंड एक्ट्रेसेस. एक बात उन्होंने कह दी तो उनको दिनों तक, so many days they are being trolled about what they have said because we don't agree with them. So it's not only children and parents. We are finding that adults are also falling prey to this whole new freedom that they have online. So what are your recommendations? What do you think we should do to educate people? How do we educate them about their rights and about their duties? How there is a duty with every freedom that they get.
Digital parenting, the concept is not that much of a difficult. Okay, I can understand that multiple people are not that much of internet savvy. Even multiple people also save their passwords and keep their passwords too much easier for their kids to understand. We have an incident 3 days ago, two parents had came to launch a complaint that their account has been deducted for 1,50,000.
Wow.
When I look at the transactions, I get to know that these transactions were made to a merchant who was traced back to Tencent Games. Tencent Game is the basically company who has launched the PUBG game.
Oh,
I think you have heard of the game. So from the mother's phone, the kid was using or playing that PUBG game, and her debit card was lying there. So to purchase those privileges for that game, or to purchase special
अक्षर
packs
नका
of the
जाऊ येऊन
game.
सारखं सारखं रेकॉर्ड होतंय हे.
sorry.
Huh, huh. So for that, the kid has gotten those details of debit card, and the kid had executed those transactions. Later on, when the kid understood that there are multiple messages of transactions that are coming onto the mobile, the kid quickly disconnected it from the internet. Then he uninstalled the game, and then he kept the mobile as it is and the card into his mom's purse. So when the parents came here, when I told them that this has happened, they were furious. But I told them but I did told them that you have to be a little bit calm and quiet right now. You need to make sure your kid understand what the repercussions of those things are. Digital parenting, the values and the things that we teach in real life are not too much different from digital parenting. So
Absolutely.
we teach our kids or students to not talk with strangers. Same goes over social media. You don't have to befriend somebody who is not known to you, who is not physically known to you. You don't have to have an interaction with them. There's a possibility that the person can be a pedophile, or the person can be a criminal who is gathering the information that when these people are going out of their house, and when the person can get into their house and execute his robbery. So this is the thing. Secondly, one thing that we also teach our students and our kids, that you need to be respectful while talking to others. You need to be respectful while expressing your opinions. You do not use foul words. If somebody, as a kid, if your kid is using a foul word, you scold that kid. You let them understand that this is not good or this is not okay to use this kind of words. But people are using this kind of words over social media. There's a phrase in Marathi की मारणाऱ्याचा हात धरता येतो, बोलणाऱ्याचं तोंड धरता येत नाही, which roughly translates to you can prevent somebody when somebody is trying to attack you physically, or you can have a prevention technique when they are attacking you. But you cannot hold that person who is talking about you behind your backs or over social media. So
Right.
this is the kind of thing we are living in an era where everybody is on social media, whether it is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. The example that you had said, that multiple celebrities are not on social media. Once I have heard of an interview of Benedict Cumberbatch, the guy who played a lead role in Sherlock Holmes BBC series. So he told that I'm not on social media because I cannot handle that much of negativity that is coming my way. I don't want my time to be spent so easily and to face that negativity in my life. So I'm not on social media. So not being on social media doesn't make too much of a difference. There were people that were living in this era, in this generation, who had lived a healthy and prosperous life without social media. Social media doesn't make it's not an essential part of your life. For the people to understand this, what makes this social media an essential, integral, and unavoidable part of your life, it uh, it can destroy them, because there's a too much of negativity coming their way, because there are multiple people who are posting comments. Someone from might be from Delhi, someone from Kanyakumari, someone will be from Northeast, someone will be from outside India, some from somewhere else. So it comes it. So we have to make sure that our kids understand how to handle those things, how to handle those type of negative comments, how to ignore them, how to not let those things affect your personal feelings, your emotions, your work, your study, or your relationships.
This is a very tough thing to do as a mother of a teen, I can tell you, because it's all about popularity now. They think that if they have 25,000 followers on Instagram, they are celebrities themselves. and the pictures that
Yes.
people are posting. So if a friend, I mean, you can't afford not to look like you are with it, like you are hip. So you have to look like everybody else. You have to speak like everybody else. The language that is used, there is actually competition in how nasty can I get. And you know, like, we even had, if you remember, we had the roast on TV, on the
Yeah.
you know, on, it wasn't online, it was on a stage, actually a physical stage. But
Hmm.
that kind of roasting is happening every single day online. That was on a stage, and it can break people because we don't know what the trigger may be in the person who's sitting opposite us. We don't know which word or which incident we will talk about that can actually break the person who's sitting there. There might have been an incident in my life that you're not aware of. And when you talk about something like that, that might be my breaking point. So I think psychologists also have to get into this whole discussion to a very great extent. Schools, colleges, companies have to now really become serious about talking about cybercrime and talking about responsibility. You know, when you are online, how to talk with your colleagues, how to talk with your classmates, how to talk to your seniors. There was a way we spoke to our teachers. Just because a teacher cracked a joke with you, we would not cross the line with them the next time we met them. But that's not happening anymore. Again, we have nuclear families now. तो पहले जो हमें वो सब मिलता था संस्कार from our older relatives, वो भी नहीं है. So even the parents now are trying very hard to cope and keep up with the so-called head people in cities. So I think a lot of learning, relearning has to, unlearning and relearning has to happen when it comes to online language also. Let me just, when I'm looking away from you, please don't mind, I'm looking at the phone to check for questions and at my own
Sure.
paper. So one big question is also this, Sagarji and Rajas. I think that people are getting offended too easily these days. We were a stronger generation to a great extent. Have you ever got cases that you felt were very flimsy, where कुछ बोल दिया and बात का पतंगर बन गया है? Because now we know कि cyberbullying है, cybercrime है, so let's make use of it. To target somebody we don't like, just turning a small thing into a bigger incident. How will you, as a lawyer or as a policeman, be able to tell just some innocent, ignorant mischief online from an actual deliberate offense? Rajas and then Sagarji. Rajas.
Yeah. First of all, before I take on this question, I would like to just add a few points to our previous question, which was about which was specifically about parenting. Yeah, but I completely agree with Sagarji on this, that we cannot just raise our hands and say that okay, we are in a hands up position and okay, we don't know internet much, or we don't know computer much, and that's why we are not able to add up, or we are not able to help our children in this particular situation. We can't say that now, because since everything is digital nowadays, it's a need of an hour that every parent also should go to an extent to learn about new things. And it's not going to take years of learning to understand actually basic things about how internet and how technology works. So once we have that knowledge with us, we will be able to set a few guidelines for our children, so that they act and behave responsibly over the internet, or while using computers, mobile phones, laptop, and so forth. So actually it's a need of an hour now. And yeah,
I need to tell you to be very comfortable with whoever it is who's walking up and down behind you. I also went to close the door because my dog is barking away. We need to be comfortable now because we're all working from home, and we
I
cannot
know, I know.
expect our families, to just let us have, a free.
I know. I
So
was going to
please
take this from
relax.
my office, but
Just we all have
since
families. Let us now get used to this new reality that we are going to be working from home. There will be people walking around our homes, and as long as they're not disturbing us, that's fine. So even I get
I
very
agree, I
stressed.
agree.
I get
I
very
know.
stressed. Is the doorbell going to ring? Is my dog going to bark? So I think that is one thing we need to get over and not hold against each other. We don't want it to happen, but we
I know,
can't
I know.
stop our family from living their lives. That is another
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It's going to lead to frustration all around us. We don't need it anymore. So carry on, please. What were you saying?
Yeah. So, yes, coming back to your question, could you please reiterate your question? That would be great.
how would you know innocent mischief? Like we've all said things that were wrong. When I was
Yes.
growing up, I was called chashmis. I was called whatever. So हमने सब ये सब बोला है ना? Double battery वो चश्मा पहनने वाले को. I used to wear glasses from my ninth. We had
Correct,
we had
correct.
lovely words like double battery, which was fun to use. We never took it as offensive. We laughed it off. Okay, I still remember, but nowadays even that is considered as shaming. It is considered as offensive. So what is offensive and what is not? Can we like draw that line, please?
Me people who were going to the police station and filing the complaints under section 66A, even if there wasn't anything offensive as such being said against them online, and they were just going right, left, and center, approaching the police and basically insisting them to register a case. So this has happened before many times. That's why the Honorable Supreme Court uh, uh, specifically gave out a verdict in Shreya Singhal versus Union of India that Section 66A is very vague and it needs to be struck down because people were misusing it. Now, coming back to this question, uh, one case, one very appropriate case comes to my mind that a person approached me, I think a while ago, and the case was such that he connected with his childhood friend on Facebook. They used to go in a similar in the same school, and they were batchmates back then. I think 30 years ago or 35 years ago. So they connected online on Facebook, and his other friend who sent him a friend's request, he sent uh, he wrote something in Marathi like "Kai म्हणतेस मावशी." So they used to call him by that particular pet name in the school. So now this other person was a teacher, and many of the students were also connected on his Facebook. Obviously that wasn't particularly offensive as such, but that person, because the because of that friend calling him that particular word, he went to the police station and registered a complaint against that friend just by for saying a particular word which a particular word which as per me wasn't offensive as such, and it wasn't said in a particular manner to offend that other person. So obviously there were many instances wherein the words weren't at all offensive, but people took offense and they went to the police station. And obviously once they go to the police station, I think Sagarji would agree that people want their complaints registered, even if that doesn't amount to a offense at all. They keep on insisting the police to register the complaint. And I think Sagarji uh, would be in a better position to explain this properly, because he has come across many of such people coming or walking to the cyber police station and wanting Sagarji also to register their complaint, even if that particular thing doesn't amount to an offense. So people also need to understand what is offensive, what is not offensive, and that, I think, that is needed now more than ever, for our government to come up with a specific provision explaining it clearly that this okay, all these things would be offensive if you do it online, and if someone says otherwise, then obviously it falls under the exception, or that wouldn't amount a contravention of this particular provision. So that has to be there.
Right. Sagarji, would you like to add to this?
Yes, we have received multiple such kind of complaints where people come up with such thing that somebody is calling me that by this name on Facebook, or I have posted a video on Facebook and TikTok and they are calling me this. So there should be, so law considers the intention between each and everything. So intention is everything. So I'll give you an example. If I see somebody's video of dancing on some Bollywood or a Hollywood song, and if I find it funny, and if I posted a comment like yeah, you're dancing funny, so that will be okay. But if I started body shaming the person, or stating that in some other offensive words, then it becomes offensive for that person. So I'll also like to point out that every social media platform has uh, given the facility to report any post, videos, or comments that are being coming toward their way. They have given this. There are content review teams that are setting up or being appointed by every social media, be it Facebook, be it YouTube or Instagram, or even Twitter also. So they have given some pre-filled options like, what do you think about this post? You want to report it, so it is abuse hai, sexual harassment hai, nudity hai, communal
Right.
hate speech hai, misinformation hai. So you can report the information to the concerned social media. So it becomes very difficult, or it is almost impossible for law enforcement agency to monitor all those things and to keep reporting to the concerned social media, because people are using the social media at free of cost, and they are posting these things free of cost. So the control of what should be on the social media and what no, what shouldn't be there is been given to the people. Right now we actually need some people, or some uh, cyber literate groups who will be willing to report these kind of things. So people need to gather around, create a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group where they can discuss with each other. Currently within the COVID-19 situation, we have seen how much sanitization is important. So like this, the cyber sanitization is also important, because it is filled with too much of negativity, too much of this kind of comment, too much of misinformation, which we easily ignore it. For example, if I'm seeing an information which I think this shouldn't be on that social media platform, so I should report it. And let me tell you this very clearly, that if for example, if I have posted a post and Mr. Rajesh didn't like it, or if he finds it offensive and he reports it to the concerned social media, then the social media will never tell me that Mr. Rajesh had posted this comment, or Mr. Rajesh has reported your post to our social media.
Anonymous.
So people need to understand that if you reported something, your identity will be hidden from the concerned person who has posted those things, or who had posted those type of comments. So multiple people reporting these kind of things will help into the cyber sanitization, which will be able to clear those accounts, because those accounts will be closed.
Right. A lot of things that are going on today, like they have got, this has been going on forever. But there are a lot of people who are unable to handle rejection. They're being friend zoned. They're not able to handle that the girl or the boy that they have a crush on has rejected them. And then they go on to write a lot of negative comments, or they go on to malign the reputation of the person. So we used to have something called suing for libel earlier, when people would um, malign somebody's reputation. So this
That's
is
correct.
happening in schools. I really think that law is not something that should be looked at as what happens post graduation, or only as undergrads. I think law is something that should be taught from the beginning in school. Although we talk about God, or when I was growing up, it was like, God will poke your eyes if you lie.
Hmm.
God has to be law. We have to know that there is a law of the land from the beginning. बचपन से अगर हमें सिखाया जाता है कि there will be repercussions to everything that we do to harm another human being, that might go a long way. Also, I think that I have been online, I think, for at least 20 years, and using social networks like Paltalk, etc., that came much before Facebook. I've been online forever. It was not as abusive or as offensive as it is now. It has been offensive and abusive even then, because you can't restrict the kind of people who go online. But it is becoming worse day by day, and of course the COVID situation is really exceptional. There are a couple of comments that I would like to share with you. How do you handle the case of harassment through social media like Instagram? There was this case of a girl who broke off with a guy she had a relationship with. He kept harassing her. She would block him, and then he would make another account. um, and these kids can't even go back to their parents. Now this is another thing, like I said, either the parents are so strict, or they don't understand the internet, So the kids are not going to able to go to the parents. They worry that the parents will yell at them for being on social networking in the first place. Why are you even there? And we know that we have to understand that this is a new reality. Many parents, honestly, I mean, both of you are much younger than I am, so I need to tell you that parents my generation don't even know the reality of this whole cyberspace yet, and what are the options that children actually have. Parents really need to be educated about this
That's right.
and aware.
Correct.
And there is another one. If there is an incident of cyberbullying happening, and if it is beyond, and if it is something beyond what a parent can handle, can Mr. Sagar enlighten us as to how we can go about reporting this? What sort of proof do we need to produce? And does the law protect us from any repercussions towards our kids? Um, so this, I think, is in sync with another question that I had put down. Has the legal definition and scope of cybercrime expanded? I think you said earlier that it hasn't, but there is a need for this, and I think all the lawyers must call for this. Has the legal definition and scope of cybercrime expanded to include cyberbullying specifically? And isn't there a need for this today? So I think we need laws, and people from the police and from the law field, I think, have to push for this. What would you say to this? What sort
The
of proof do we
case,
need to produce? I
okay,
think Sagarji should take this first, because first I think they'll go
sure,
to the cops and then go to the lawyer. So
sure, sure,
maybe
sure.
the lawyer will tell us. I don't know which one of you, but I think we'll go with Sagarji first.
Okay, well, the things that you had said, that first I would like to point out that there's a part where we call it as a revenge porn and type of complaints like that, because there are multiple things where people are getting into relationships, getting out of relationships, and this is not only happening at some middle part of life; it is happening at the teenage also.
Right.
So at that point, people, a psychologist will be able to more tell you about the identity crisis they are struggling with, and the need to get identified by the concerned generation they are living in, or they are working with, or they are going to school and colleges with. There's a another different part of this, that when they get into a relationships, multiple times it has been observed that they create multiple videos or take on certain photos which they themselves will not be able to see in front of their parents. Firstly, this should completely be stopped. No intimate photos and videos should be taken first, because they are not aware of what kind of cyber threats there are. If somebody's data gets stolen, then that data can be used against themselves to blackmail those kids, and god knows it might lead to anybody losing their life. Secondly, whenever these type of things come out, so laws are pretty much strict about cyberbullying about women, which where they can file a complaint under section 354D of stalking. The stalking is basically was following somebody online, uh, having the clear indication that the person doesn't want to have a conversation with the another person or over social media or anywhere else. So if any woman, any girl is being followed over social media, and although giving a clear indication that no, I don't want to talk with you, and then again the person is following them, then they should directly come to cyber police station when we will file an FIR, and the further legal action will be taken. Secondly, there are multiple things where these things are coming down. I cannot give you the exact number, but I'll say that more than 35% that 35% of the complaint that we get at the cyber police station are related to the social media things. Maybe it's either Facebook hai, Instagram hai, and other social media. So out of those complaints, very few are willing to file an FIR. Very few, although telling it to everybody. What they want is their problem to be resolved. So until and unless you don't file an FIR against the person who is harassing you or who is using your photos to try to blackmail you or defame you or create your fake profiles over internet, if you are just willing to delete those accounts, then our hands and our authority is bound by the law.
Right.
Unless and until there's an FIR filed, we cannot arrest another person.
Is there a provision? You see, what happens with juveniles also is, of course, we know about the Nirbhaya case, right? How the 17-year-old got away. Nobody is happy with it. I don't think lawyers are happy, policemen are happy with what finally happened with that last guy who was 17 years old and a juvenile. This is the sympathy that we start feeling, Stockholm syndrome or whatever you want to call it, कि बेचारा बच्चा है, maybe he didn't know. तो हम FIR फाइल नहीं करेंगे, लेकिन उसको डांट के छोड़ दोगे क्या आप? I'm sure this must be happening with you a lot. Can you just come?
Yes, multiple times. Multiple complaints has been happened multiple times. We had instructed the concerned people's parents also, even their teachers also. But you need to understand at certain stage, at the age of 16, nobody will be able to that much differentiate. There's a difference between ignorance of the law and intentional disrespect of the law.
Correct.
So for that, the person needs to be able to attain that much of age to understand what exactly law is and what are the repercussions of their actions are.
At what age do you think people will understand? Because I've seen adults
Okay,
being like that also.
That answer can be given by Rajesh, I think,
At
bit
what
clearly,
age?
because this is a policy decision which I cannot comment on.
Absolutely. So there is a question here. Without repercussions for the child, can such things be reported and can action be taken? Rajas and Sagar.
Absolutely, action can be taken. They can go to cyber police station and file their complaint, and subsequently, once it gets converted into an FIR, then obviously police have to conduct an investigation, a thorough investigation. They have to conclude the investigation. Subsequently, a charge sheet will be filed before the court of law, and the entire process of law will take place. So and if it's at the complaint stage, then police can call that person to the police station. They can give warning to that person that you shouldn't be doing all these things, otherwise an FIR will be filed against you, and subsequently you will be taken to jail, or any appropriate legal action would be taken against you. So that is there, and there are repercussions once a complaint is filed. So but once the FIR is filed, the due process of law needs to be followed. Uh, when it's at the complaint stage, I think Sagarji has also correctly stated that many of the issues they get resolved at the complaint stage, because even the parents don't want to proceed with the FIR. They don't want to, or they don't want their child to go to the police stations again and again, or they don't want their child or themselves to go to the court uh, when there is uh, date in the court. So to avoid these things, they would go to the police station, they file a complaint, and they expect police to work on that, and just call that person to the police station and say that, okay, you have done something which is contrary to law, but since these parents do not want to proceed any further, you shouldn't you should stop immediately here, otherwise an FIR would be filed.
So people are commenting and putting in questions about some parent actually flashing all the female teachers. He's come in inappropriately dressed into a meeting. There are also cases where people have, which is why I said, please kindly don't share this Zoom link with anybody, because I believe people just jump into Zoom meetings and they mess up the entire proceedings. All of these things are going on, and people really think that they will not be taken to task. The fear constantly is, especially in schools, what happens is if a child complains about another child, a classmate, the child is constantly in fear that one, they will lose their friends, and two, that मेरे reputation का क्या होगा, I will not be welcome in that class anymore because I've complained against my own friend. This is something everybody wants to be popular today. We have all grown up with this, where we don't complain about our closest friends, because who we call our closest friends, because we're afraid of losing our friends. And what is abatement in this case? One thing I need to ask you is this. There is a group, like if there are the three of us in a group, Sagarji, Rajas and I are in one group, right? And Rajas has said something to me which is not correct, and Sagarji is watching that you are saying things to me that are not appropriate and that I'm getting impacted. You may or may not know that I'm getting impacted, but Sagarji can see it. But if he's not saying anything for the longest time, will that be seen as abatement of what is going on? And is he also equally responsible for what is going on? Children need to know this. I need to hear this from both of you. I know it is abatement, but I need to hear this from both of you also.
See, not reporting a criminal activity would obviously fall under specific provisions of law, and would be a criminal activity if I see a murder is happening in front of me and I don't go and report it to the police station. Obviously, I'm doing something illegal as well if I'm not reporting that. But at the same time, when we talk about abetment, to be very specific, if we three are there and if I instruct Sagarji to write something against you on the internet, that would specifically amount to abetment. If I tell him to go on the internet, go on social media, something illegal about you, or post something illegal about you, then that would amount to abetment.
Yes, but if I react in a way where I, sort of attempt suicide, or I run away from home, or I run away from the situation and harm myself in some way, and if Sagarji has been watching that this is leading to this, what should he do? What should he do? Because if we are both equally important to him, and he needs you as well as he needs me as his friends, and he's not able to tell you to stop it. Sagar ji, what do you think? What should children do in such situations? Because उनको popular होने का इतना शौक है कि वो एक दूसरे को report नहीं करते, टोकते भी नहीं है. For the longest time, the bullying continues to happen in a group, and you find that none of the so-called friends अलग से मैसेज करते हैं कि आई नो आई एम वाचिंग दिस इज नॉट राइट, आई होप यू आर ओके. ये सारे मैसेजेस साइड में हो रहे हैं, पर्सनल मैसेजेस आ रहे हैं, लेकिन मेन जो ग्रुप है उसमें नहीं लिखा जा रहा है प्लीज स्टॉप, वी थिंक दिस इज रॉन्ग, क्योंकि उनको पॉपुलर होना होता है. व्हाट इज हाउ आर दे देन लुक्ड एट लीगली, पीपल हु आर नॉट एक्टिंग knowingly?
We have to understand one thing very clearly, that law and punishments are not the solution for how people should act in a society in general. Absolutely. Or day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Law has been made for exceptional cases where somebody's complete life is threatened physically or economically, or even in some cases mentally also. But we should understand this thing, that people the things that I have earlier said, that digital parenting is no different from the regular parenting. The basic things or the morals are from the beginning or from the same. We tell our kids or we tell our students to stand up against or to fight for the justice, or to stand up against things which are not right. If somebody is body shaming somebody, another person in the group, or if somebody is abusing someone in the same group, then I should stand up and say no, this is not okay. I should have the guts to say that. Just for being popular, if we are getting manipulated by the people who are using such bad words, who are not having that much morals, who don't have the understanding of the concerned people's mindset or how it will affect it, then we don't need to get this popularity, or we don't need those kind of approvals from these kind of people.
That is the ideal situation, but it's not happening.
Just one more thing I want to add, sorry to cut you there, that as he very correctly said, that if someone is not standing up for the other friend, then we are clearly failing as a society. These are very basic things. These I don't think that someone should come and tell me every now and then that this is something wrong and you should stand up for this. It should be inculcated, and it should be within me that should come forward and say, okay, this is absolutely wrong and you should immediately stop harassing the other person. It is my moral, as well as a friend, as a person, it is my responsibility to help the other person. If people are not able to understand, if I think I shouldn't say I mean kids, if someone is 18 or 19, they have that much capacity to understand these things clearly, and they should come forward and clearly say that okay, this is wrong and you should immediately stop. Popularity and everything is it's completely superficial. If we are doing this for popularity and for so-called fame, but if we are not coming forward and stopping all these things, then we are definitely failing as a society.
Right. People are, yes. So we also find that people who are actually impacted by it are also keeping quiet and saying that I will look like someone who's not an agreeable human being, so let me just let it pass. at some point of time. So I keep saying to the kids that I know that if you allow this to happen to you and let them get away with it, when they grow up, they just become more and more powerful bullies then, because you're
Absolutely.
empowering them. If you don't stop them now, they're going to become more confident and more powerful as bullies as they go ahead. um, so are there any incidents at all that stand out very vividly in your memory about anything that should not have happened, and then something that went very wrong, or something that went very right, something that was corrected beautifully, or something that you could not sort of stop in time? Has there been anything that has really impacted you as two people working in this whole cybercrime space, something that has stayed in your memory? Rajas and Sagar ji, both of you, any
Okay.
incident that comes to mind immediately?
Firstly, what we need to understand is, unfortunately, I have to say it here, that once an incident is reported, if that particular incident is happening within India, then obviously there is a chance to actually investigate and catch hold that person and subsequently take legal action, and stop him from him or her from doing further damage to the other person or the victim in this case. But what I have seen from many cases, that uh, people nowadays, they know technology. People, and by people I mean, uh, particularly from 18 years to 30 years, they read everything online, they gather that knowledge, and they tend to use it to do illegal activities. So by using these I specifically don't want to talk about these techniques because I don't want others to learn about these things. But by using these techniques, they hide their identity. Obviously, it can be, they can be identified, but it takes time. And sometimes, obviously, it's a very long procedure when other countries are also involved. If they are using certain technologies, when uh, other countries are also involved, our cyber police station here in India would have a very hard time gathering every evidence, and then actually reaching to that perpetrator and catching hold of him or her. So that's very unfortunate that between that timeline, uh, many have taken unfortunate steps which they shouldn't have taken. But people think they do not have any other option than to take their own life. I certainly do not agree with that. They should come forward and talk with their parents or with their friends, uh, at least, and should explain everything to them, that what's been happening. Because I have come across wherein specifically college students, they have approached me and said that, okay, uh, like their photos and their videos have been compromised, and now the other person is taking advantage of those photos and videos, and there have been instances where a ransom is being expected out of them. But they are merely college students. They do not have it. First of all, they do not have that amount of money, and secondly, these people are very scared to go to their parents also. But as their parents, obviously, uh, uh, the most they would be the correct people to approach in these type of instances, at least their friends or their parents. Subsequently, it can be taken to the cyber police station, or so they need to seek immediate help from their near ones.
So any incident, Sagar ji, in your mind that you can?
We have encountered few cases where juveniles, even the kids of from the age 12 to 15 were involved. But uh, our approach to the concerned cases where we get to know that the person or the person who is posting the or the account that has been posting such kind of comments and things are juvenile, then our approach suddenly changes from a police officer to get to the level of a parent to really get to understand what is going on with their minds, that they have been forced to do or they have been pushed this far level to do such kind of things. At this level, the point has been again and again had came up with the thing that that is about the popularity. that everybody wants their personality to be known for something. The identity crisis at teenage level is quite effective, or it's too much of a strong point, where people or the kids try to push their limits, or try to do things which are being considered as a little bit of forbidden, or which they find it, after doing those things, they think themselves up a little bit of kind of rebels, so they tend to do those things. But at this point, we need to understand that we need to make sure of them that the things that has been going on, the body shaming, the harassment, the trolling, and all those things, if the person is doing the bullying, he is also being traumatized at some level, at some psychological level, but because it will also be obstructing the person's personality, developing as a human being. Then again, the person who is being affected by the most, the person who is being bullied by those things.
It becomes
So
a cycle.
it becomes a
It's a bit,
cycle.
see it, it's a vicious cycle. And just to add what he said, that the kid who is getting bullied will also become a bully eventually. So it's a vicious cycle.
So, as there were multiple laws has been passed due to ragging, physical ragging in multiple schools and colleges, that ragging is banned. Multiple schools and colleges has put up the boards that multiple hostels also has that board कि यहाँ पे ragging नहीं होता, ragging illegal है. These are the laws against ragging, and you do not do ragging. So with this, we need to upgrade those things with cyberbullying also. We need to upgrade those things, are what are the things that not to be said over social media, how to be specific, or how to be modest or gentle with your opinions while you are expressing your opinions. You don't have to use cursing words or abusive words while expressing your opinions. These abusive words doesn't make your point right. Whatever you're saying, or whatever you have to express, these words or these harsh words are not needed to express yourself, firstly. Secondly, there's a more specific part to it, that while searching for the cyberbullying, I have came across some facts and figures about the facts and figures says that almost more than 60% parents did not know that their kid is being a target of cyberbullying, because the kids don't talk about these things to their parents. The kids think that if I tell my parents, then my parents will come to my school or college, then my college's principal or the other professors will ask the concerned kids to come into their office. They will scold those kids, and I'll be treated
Okay.
as a snitch.
Hmm.
Okay. A person who is going behind their backs, and a person who is basically I'll look weak in front of my colleagues, or in
Class.
front of other classmates, or in my students. But they need to understand that, or the people who are teaching them, the teacher staff, the staff of the colleges, they need to make sure to teach those kids how to handle the negativity. You have to ignore the things which are not relevant. Anybody can come up with something on social media. You can see right now that everybody has their opinion on social media, each and about everything. Whatever there's good, you will find that people are thrashing those things with multiple bad words. You will also see the sides, people are taking sides. It has been really hard to ignore those things, but as earlier said, society gets what it deserves. So we need to build a society at the base which is based on these kind of morals, where these things will eventually become non-essential, and people will start following those personal morals and personal privacy protocols with all those morals to do not thrash or do not bully other people.
And see, what I think is, you obviously, uh, for first of all, you should ignore all these things. If at all it is going to such an extent that the other person is harassing you continuously or again and again, then you should stand up for yourself, and then you should immediately tell your parents that these things are happening, or you should go to the cyber police station and file a complaint.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Okay,
Absolutely.
one
See,
more
we need
point
to
I
talk.
wanted to add, that parents should be a little bit more attentive and observational regarding their kids, because they will find that the behavioral changes in their kids,
Absolutely.
and then they can notice things, and they can easily sit down with their kids and have a little bit of conversation by giving them the confidence to talk about what has been happening, what is troubling them about it. So
See, another thing that I posted on Facebook very recently is that most of us they gave our board exams when we were 15 and 17,
right.
if you remember, 10th
uh,
and 12th. I don't know who fixed that age for board exams, because that is a time when we are coping with so many bodily and hormonal changes. And we are coping with all of this need for popularity, the need to get ahead of somebody else, that competitive spirit that was never there suddenly comes into, is she prettier than me? Is he smarter than me? Who has more fans? Who has more friends? At that time, we have a board exam. So there are a lot of pressures on these children also. So somebody who's not doing well in exams wants to do better in terms of popularity. And I think they also resort, like you said, to a lot of these things to look stronger in one space. If they are not strong in their academics, they want to look stronger elsewhere. Or if they're already strong in academics, they also want to show that they are heroes elsewhere also, while they're actually impacting the mental health of their own classmates, even their own. There are professors who are so afraid to speak to their own students, because students are taking, like I said, right to information, right to education, right to expression, freedom of speech. सबको अपना हक पता है, लेकिन उसके साथ जो जिम्मेदारी आती है, nobody is talking about that at all. So I'm very happy to hear both of you resonating. Actually, we all seem to be in sync when we talk about character building for people. Has to be a very important part, I think, in school, which is simply not paid any attention to. Subject सारे हैं, लेकिन आप as a human being क्या हो, इसके ऊपर कोई focus नहीं है while growing up. We used to have moral sciences etc when we used to grow up, when we were growing up. अभी वो subjects मुझे नहीं नजर आ रहे. Character building is not a part of the syllabus at all. Do you think that should be there, so that whichever space you are in, whether you are in on the internet or off the internet, that character building I think will go a long way in, each of us has come from a completely different background, three of us, but all of us are able to see what the problem here is. Character is failing us. इंसान का
Absolutely.
character है. So
Character, as well as I don't think law is only for lawyers. And
absolutely.
people, yeah. And when we talk about law, only lawyers, judges, and the law or the law enforcement agencies, they are the only ones who are expected to know law. But at the same time, ignorance of law is no excuse. So
Absolutely.
every citizen, and I think the basics of law should be incorporated into the education system from the very beginning. Even kids should know what the law is. I'm not saying that they should know every provisions of Indian Penal Code, or at least the basics of law. What the structure is, how it actually behaves when something illegal is happening, and how the entire procedure takes place. So everyone should know about this, all the constitutional rights and duties. So these are not only for lawyers, judges, and public prosecutors or law enforcement agencies. These are for everyone.
I think I
I
do
completely agree with
sorry, go
I
ahead.
completely agree with Advocate Rajas on this, that there are certain provisions, at least the basics of being lawful and unlawful, that should
Correct.
be known to the people, that should be known to the students, that should be known to the children, to the age of what we say, it's a teenage, where they are more likely to break the laws. We cannot expect a 9-year-old to go and break the law. That's not happening right now currently. But at the teenage, after the age of 12, if I'm not wrong, after the age of 12, people or the students who are having the identity crisis, who are more turning towards the popularity part, at that age they are turning, or they are most likely to disobey the concerned laws.
Yes, absolutely.
And
And I agree with the points that you brought up about morals and ethics. If these are taught, I mean, with your eyes closed, you can say what is legal and what is illegal, because laws are based on what is ethically and morally right, isn't it?
right.
That is how you build laws. That is how you come up with a new law. Now, if you're going to talk about cyber law, which are concerning all of this, what is it going to be based on what is morally and ethically correct in society today? Anything that is morally and ethically wrong can never be legal, isn't it? So if we base, if we start with character building in school and talking about morals, ethics, and law, and also we need to stop, I think, to a great extent, soft peddling all of this. Constantly we are saying things like पता नहीं उसके दिमाग का क्या हालत क्या होगा, आपका दिमाग का हालत कुछ भी हो, you cannot transfer that on to somebody else. It does not give you the
Absolutely.
right. If I have been through something negative, it does not give me the right to project that negativity onto you. Unless you know me extremely well and you know where I'm coming from. When you're talking to complete strangers online, your negativity, cannot come to the fore so that it affects somebody else. So those things I think with a psychologist we will need to talk about. Also,
One more thing I would like to add that you had said the thing about the psychologist, but there's one more thing which is, or one more topic that has been avoided or considered as taboo, or it is not being discussed openly, is about the mental health.
right.
Because these things are needed at such early ages where people need to understand, schools even need to understand. They can incorporate, not everything can be incorporated in their syllabus. They can create some workshops for those things, but
That's
for
correct.
that mental health, people need to bring those things up to the kids, where kids need to understand how to handle negativity coming their way. Secondly, how to express their feelings. That's another part that you had rightly said, that if I have faced something bad, or if I am going through a bad phase, that doesn't give me a right to bash you or to bash another person, or to put out my frustration into the anger, and that anger to another person. So that just makes situations worse. So how to handle those kind of situations, how to deal with your own feelings, is also important. So whenever it is going on, currently it is going on live on Facebook, the people or the principals, or from the people who are from the school fraternity, who are related to the management as well, I will request all of them to kindly ensure or kindly arrange these kind of workshops of renowned psychologists or child psychologists within their schools, or for their children of their school, so as the children will understand what actually the problem is, what is the reason behind doing anything, and is the reason right, is their intention right behind sending something. We have previously we had discussed that an innocent, how will we are going to define an innocent comment from a hurtful one. So these things or these workshops will be helpful to make the students and the teachers and all of the other peoples will understand कि whatever they are saying, why they are saying it. If I'm calling something funny, or if I'm body shaming someone, why am I calling with that name to somebody? So these things will help eventually. This will go on, but as a pet project or something, any people who are from the school fraternity or from the management, they can try and they can check out the result themselves, that after these kind of workshops, it has been observed that students understand what they are feeling, and they will control it. They can control their behavior, or they can control their reaction to it, or they can change their reaction according to it.
Yeah, maybe that has to become mandatory because schools also do what they have to do only when an incident has already taken place.
That's
And,
correct. Yes.
right. So the moment something happens in their school, to protect the reputation of the school, they go into this panic mode and they try to organize workshops, etc. in retrospect. It has to be from the beginning, and it has to be a continuing process. So it's not like आज workshop हो गया तो चलो इस साल का कोटा खत्म अगले साल करते हैं.
That's how, but unfortunately, that's how every college and every school is treating this.
Yes.
As I mean, once the workshop is conducted, they're conducting these workshops as a mere formality.
It's a tick in the box, which it
Yeah,
should not be. Also, I spoke to a psychologist, and he said, a leading psychologist whom I wouldn't want to name, and I completely agreed with him. He says parents are not investing in this. If I say that I'm going to see, we are talking now for free, right? And I contacted you because I told you, there was an incident that completely upset my circles of friends and family and everybody else. That incident triggered this entire need for this conversation here. So we shouldn't wait for that trigger to happen. We have to sort of avoid that from happening, prevent that from happening at all. There have to be preventive steps that have to be taken. But the psychologists say that the schools are not willing to pay see, this is a professional kind of, this is expertise. This is hard-earned information. This is hard-earned experience that all of us are sharing on a regular basis. So there has to be a paid consultant who's available and who comes there and speaks to the students on a regular basis, somebody that the students can reach out to. There has to be a rapport. When I spoke to my daughter about this, she's also very sensitive about this issue. So she says, we will not go and talk to a stranger. We would prefer to speak to somebody who's familiar. How do you develop that familiarity? It's only when that consultant keeps coming back over and over again and having conversations with you that it becomes a familiar face. So this investment has to be there, where a consultant, a psychological consultant, is actually paid and put on the rolls of every single school and college, so that parents should also be able to consult them on a regular basis. It can be added to the fee if it is
See,
required.
and this is already there in many other countries. If
Right.
you look United States of America, it's there already in their schools. There is a psychologist who will be there in the school, and there are particular times when if there's something, I wouldn't say wrong, but if a kid is going through some difficult times, the other teacher would recommend her. The other teacher would recommend him or her to go and visit the school psychologist, and they go and obviously talk with that psychologist. So it needs to be there. Yes.
You know, what has happened today is actually wonderful. I was actually a little intimidated by the fact that I'm speaking to somebody from the police and to somebody who's a lawyer. No, I'm being very honest here. Even when it comes to a psychologist, we have this feeling that these are not. I think we all need to step down from our pedestals. I've done my law, so I know that people look at lawyers very differently. They look at us as not very honest people also, because we just need to win the case no matter what. And the police also, I mean, the reputation that professionals actually have, any professional, whether it's a doctor or a lawyer or a cop or anybody or a psychologist, it it's wonderful that you've made this conversation so very informal and so very what is the word to use, very easy. You have allowed it to flow very easily. It's like meeting two friends online. And I hope that people understand that you are not from another planet just because you're a cop. You're not from another planet. Unlike the way Hindi movies show us what a policeman is, that is not
those,
really
those
true.
those are the stereotypes that has been made by Hindi movies. That's why nobody else wants to go to court.
Correct. So,
Advocate Rajesh will also, you will also agree
I
with
definitely
me
agree.
that no
Yes.
lawyer in court can raise his voice from his normal tone. No lawyer can go on barging on a witness stand and ask the person by banging his hands on the witness stand and ask them the questions in very angry manner like Sunny Deol did in some movies.
I was just thinking
So
of him.
these are the things which people still they have those impacts in their minds. These are the stereotypes that has been made.
So I'm glad that
So
we've broken that today. I mean, this is the first time I've actually
I
spoken to
hope
a
it, it
policeman like this. I
I
hope
hope
more
it
people.
breaks that.
Yes, you've been completely approachable and extremely humble also in coming forward with all your suggestions. And all of you are, reiterating what we already know, but needs to come from a person of authority. If you know what I mean, we are happy that we are all on the same page. Parents know that they want their children to behave well and be good human beings, but most parents don't know how to do it, because communication also snaps. When the children hit their teens today, they're so much on their phones and chatting with their friends that their communication with you is in monosyllables. You hardly get to speak to them. So all the sanskar that we are talking about, we also want to give them all of that. Where is the time? Because they're constantly online. And so the online world has to become a more comfortable place and a more safe place, which both of you are making sure it will be. I think I've already asked you this. What should we do to engage with each other more peacefully and intelligently online? I think we've answered that. Where and how must this training begin? I think we've all agreed that it should begin at childhood, and we shouldn't wait for them to hit their, the traumatic teens. Who are the stakeholders here? It should be parents first, because it's always Mata, Pita, Guru, and then Devam. The last is Dev. So, Bhagwan pe nahi chhodna hai hame. So parents, schools, companies also, I think, need to have these conversations. It's not only schools. So if a parent is in the office and he hears this, he comes back home with that knowledge also. I think these conversations about etiquette, online language that you can use, all these courses have to happen also in companies. Any organization, it could even be in the police stations itself. Maybe we can have them there, anywhere that people go out to work. These conversations, I think, need to happen.
Okay.
Definitely.
Sorry to interrupt you. Let me tell you one thing. There are multiple companies, before hiring or before headhunting, they do a social
Yes.
media background check on their employees,
Yes.
what their ideologies, how they are behaving over social media and over cyberspace, to get to know that person better, whether he will be an asset for us or a liability for the concerned company. So people should also understand this, that this is not going to end here deleting a comment. If I made some comments and deleted it after 5 or 10 minutes, but it has been shared by someone else, then it is almost immortal over internet.
Right.
So we need to be very careful about what we are seeing or what we are sharing over internet, or whom we are talking to and what we are talking to.
Right.
And
A lot of
what
people
we
lost their jobs also because of their behavior online.
CP, what people need to understand is what we do and what we share or talk on the internet has real life consequences.
Right.
So even if we are writing something which is not felt by our hands, or which can't be felt, which is not tangible, but see, this will have real life impact on your life, as well as what if you're writing this about someone else, it is going to impact their life as well.
So we need to be responsible about what we put out there. And time and again, I was brought up my aunt who did her law also used to tell me, with every right there comes a corresponding duty. This is something that I really think that kids really need to. The sada hak ithe rak kind of an attitude has to go. It has to come with zimmedari. Okay, it has to, hak will come with zimmedari only. I think that has to be reiterated over and over again when children are in school. So if you're claiming this right, what is the responsibility that you have, so that you exercise that right correctly, has to be put into the minds of children also. So let me see if there are any more questions. Senior adults also, I believe there is their political ideologies are so strong that they use the social media to vent out. So it's also seniors, also people who come from very orthodox or superstitious backgrounds, putting out a lot of stuff online where they are not able to accept what the youngsters are doing. So this bullying thing is not about just the young generation. I think it is across generations. So these conversations have to happen with absolutely everybody around us. And I'm really, really grateful to both of you for having agreed. And I must really thank Rajas, because number one, he was a complete stranger to me, and I just approached him. I just Googled, I said the best cyber lawyers in Pune, and he was one of them. And I stalked him. I stalked you on LinkedIn. I sent him a message and said, will you please do this? And he said yes. And he also got Sagarji, involved, roped in Sagarji today. Amazing.
Because see, I want people to know that police can be like him also.
Absolutely amazing. I'm really happy that we are having this conversation, and I might reach out to you again if I get more questions. And if there is a demand, please, I would request you to set aside some time if there is a demand again, so we can speak to more people and maybe create a sort of a program. So rounding this all up, I think this is a good time for us to develop better online communication etiquette and vocabulary, very important. And being polite without being dishonest has to be the new normal. Accepting and acknowledging that disagreement is natural and not an invitation for rudeness or hurt. I think that needs to be learned. Just because I disagree with you, it does not give me the right to hurt you. Or if I am hurt, it also does not give me the right to hurt you. And the internet is here to stay. And like any power, it can be used to destroy or to build. And we have to choose wisely, right? And this conversation will continue. So thank you both so much. Sincere thanks from me and everybody else who is watching on the Ekant Trust page. I will put up the link on YouTube and share it with all of you. And I hope that this reaches as many people as possible. So thank you so very much. And
thank you so much for inviting us.
Lovely rest of Sunday. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.